Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. We're in the U.S. for the final 4 races of the Night Racing League Sports Car Championship Series, and a round that was initially scheduled to be GTE only. However, as the series progressed, the drivers wanted to see everybody on track, and this is now a 2-class race with the LMPs here as well, and what a week of practice we have had. There are elevation changes, it's up, it's down, it's left, it's right. The track has been hot. Sim date is the middle of July here. We're going through midday. It is slippery. It's all about car control today here at Mid-Ohio. And we should have a spectacular race with all of these drivers. We really don't know what to expect, but we're going to find out with 90 minutes around this, probably one of the best racetracks in the world for sports cars, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Let's have a look at the standings. Nathan Jew really having it all his own now in LMP. As season 1, we knew this going in, trying to get a roster together. Some teams would already have prior commitments, and this has been true. However, Nathan not only has the speed, but he's been here for every round, and he's got a huge lead now. Dennis Rotter, Thomas Brommel, Paul Seeley, Andreas Schwartz, all very close in the top 5, and we'll get onto the grid a little later on, but it's really all about GTE, as you noticed in our opening. The series has been wide open with incredibly tight lap times, and it has been a spectacular week of practice, and we can't wait to see which manufacturer gets their second win in the season. You can see Alexander Schleicher leading at 115 points. He's got a race win. Jennifer McDonald has a race win. Connor Seidel sticking around. His consistency and his high finishing rate. He had a little bit of a fault, but other than that, it's been keeping him competitive and up in third. Then you've got Hayden Fowler and Kevin Hensel. It's a great championship series, especially with the fact that Alexander Schleicher not here this weekend. The Switch It guys having a charity race that they were scheduled to run. So it's going to tighten up the season, and we got a heck of a battle in GTE. I can't wait to see it. And let's not wait any longer. Let's see who's on the grid for today's race here at Mid-Ohio. It's an all-switch-it front row with Andre Heinrich on pole with a 1:12.811, just a tenth and a half ahead of Thomas Brommel with a 1:12.952. Nathan Jew inside of row 2 with a 1:12.964, alongside the number 6 of Keith Rainey, the first car in the 113s. A great qualifying for the 777 of Jaden Manathan-Garin, who starts alongside the 204 of Andreas Schwartz. Nick Mannery and Paul Seeley make up row 4, 1:14.4 and 1:14.9 respectively, and a couple of newcomers in row 5 with David Sockrider in the 44 alongside the 67 of Dawson Hess. GTE has the top 2 rows all under 119 with Jens Wolters on pole with a 1:18.489 alongside the 28 of Hayden Fowler. Kevin Hensel's 1:18.9 has him just inside of Connor Siedel's 1:18.958. Jennifer McDonald brings her race win from Interlagos here and lines up 5th at 1:19.2 alongside Toby Seninger. Row 4 is Chris Costa and Steve Groninga, with Maximilian Petrovsky and Chris Thompson rounding out the field. And as the cars get ready to grid here, welcome to Mid-Ohio. This should be a good one, and of course the GTE Championship will tighten up. No on Alexander Schleicher today. And the LMP field without some switch-it drivers, so things pretty much in hand for Nathan here. But he's starting third, as you can see. And we've got a switch-it row lockout on the front. As we all get ready for this 90-minute race, and then after a little break at Christmas, the 2nd of January, we'll be starting off our 3 2-hour season finale races. Sebring on the 2nd. Then we go to a night race at Daytona before finishing the season at Road America. And things are really getting started at the moment. Plans for Season 2, which has been announced. There will be a Season 2, but really getting the format and everything put together will start to happen over the next couple of weeks. As it looks like everybody is on the grid. And we will get set for 90 minutes here at Mid-Ohio. Andre Heinrich in the 32, leading teammate Thomas Brommel in the 4. Now, we will not be starting at the start-finish line. You see the pace car driving off here. We're using the back straightaway start-finish line, so these cars will swap sides. You'll see the pole sitters move over to the right-hand side of the track. Heinrich is doing that already. And that will give the pole sitter the inside line as they head down into what will be the first corner on this lap. The start-finish line, which they had just passed, will be used for the remainder of the race, including the lap time. So the initial lap time will be very slow because they're running all the way up to the keyhole here at pace car speed, 88 kilometers an hour. There you see the GTEs coming through, led by Jens Wolters in the 24. The LMPs get formed up now. We'll need to get and as they hit the line under the Honda start stand, it will be Andre Heinrich leading them to the first corner. And we are green at Mid-Ohio. Heinrich into the first corner, with Nathan Jew making up a spot early. He's up to second. Brommel drops to third. Rainey, Manathan, Guerin, and Mannery. Meanwhile, Jens Wolters way out in front and running very slowly, waiting for the pack. I think we've got a start line problem here. The GTE field back and running. And the GTE start is under investigation, so we'll hear about that. They had to wait for that second line, and it looks like Jens may have gone early there. But the race underway as they come around to complete what will have been lap number 1, but this will be the first lap in anger. David Sockritter in the background there in the 44, his first race, and moving up quickly is the 67 of Dawson Hess. No qualifying time. He actually spun in his qualifying attempt and had to start on the back row, but he's already got himself up to 5th place on lap number 1. So a great start for the newcomer in the black and red Dallara P217. There's Andreas Schwartz in 8th. Paul Seeley has dropped back behind the final row. It is in last place. So a very conservative start for the Canadian. He's been having some grip problems. There you see the 94 of Kevin Hensel, showing that beautiful brand new Daytona livery for Night Racing Esports. He and Hayden Fowler both in the new livery today. Kevin with the white rims. As we come around and get our first representative lap times, 14.9s for the leaders. Those will come down as the tires get warm. Takes a few laps for these guys to get heated up. We're going to have a look here at the race start. And yeah, Jens went on the DRS line on the back there. You can see Hayden keeping the field tightened up. They go on the proper line, so it'd be interesting to see what the result is there, as Jens realized his mistake and backed it right up and let the field catch him. But we'll see. But definitely a jump start there. As we get back to live action, Chris Costa in a battle with Max Petrovsky there, and newcomer Steve Groninga there in the background. In his first race side by side, and Costa's going to make that pass. Up to 7th place for the 76. Meanwhile, the LMPs have really kind of broken up into two groups. As Andre Heinrich leads by 1.2 seconds over Nathan Jew. Beautiful slide there through Thunder Valley. Track temperatures approaching 40 degrees Celsius here today. Very, very low grip. These guys have been trying to find any traction they can get. As we're into the 13s now in LMP. Meanwhile, Volter still leads in GTE. Fowler, Hensel, and Seidel all within 3 seconds. Senator McDonald also in that front group before we have a bit of a gap back to Costa. And the GTEs now, they complete lap number 4. A little slower that time around in the very low 19s. We saw 18s on the previous lap. Hello everybody and welcome to race number 5 of the Night Racing League Sports Car Championship from Mid-Ohio. Originally going to be a GT only race, but because of field sizes and availabilities and a driver vote on top of that, it was decided that we would go multi-class here, and I think it was a great idea. The LMP drivers loving this circuit. The last of the 90-minuters, of course. The remaining 3 races on 3 of the greatest endurance tracks in the U.S. Well, you've got to put this track as one of the best sports car tracks as well. But as far as the endurance racing, 2-hour races at Sebring, Daytona, and Road America. As Hess now passed Rainey. And he's going to be up to 4th. So, oh, and he's off circuit. So he's going to give that position back briefly into 4th. And he's going to have to do that all over again as they clear the jump and head into Thunder Valley. Definitely not short on speed in the 67, just out of position from a poor qualifying. We'll see how he deals with the incident limits. It's usually, I'm not going to say usually, but it has been an issue for first-time drivers in the series. It takes them a race to get acclimatized. And but Dawson looking very good here. I'm just going to have a look over. Well, he obviously had an incident, a 1X for that. And that's all I see on the chart at the moment, as he takes another look at Rainey as they head into the keyhole. Rainey leaves the inside lane, but he's got the momentum on the outside. No, Hess gets a great jump, and he will retake 4th place again. We'll see if he can make it stick here as he heads into the S's. Much better that time, and already with the very short lap times here, but 1 minute 14s, we're already into the back. That's Chris Thompson in the 66, and the leaders coming through in LMP. Here's that second battle in LMP. You can see them just a few seconds back. Nick Mannery leading Andreas Schwartz, then it's David Sockrider and Paul Seeley. All very close as they make their way through the back end of the GTE field. It's good to see David in the field today. He's been in a lot of practice sessions, but maybe getting himself up to speed or just wasn't available on the Saturday. But it's good to finally see him in the grid and doing well here. Little wide by Nick as they come through China Beach. And on board with the 44 in this great four-car battle we have at the back of LMP. Meanwhile, up front, Andre Heinrich has done a 1:12.9, so the first driver we've seen under the 1:13 mark. So everything up to pressure at the moment. Look at the wiggles there as we go on board now with Schwartz. Meanwhile, up front, as we look at the GTE class, Fowler crossing the line now 2.3 seconds as we've got a Corvette runaway in GTE today. And is that going to be the car that gets its second win? We've had 4 different race winners in 4 different cars in the GTE class as wide through the keyhole goes Fowler. And no Fords in the field, so we will have a repeat car manufacturer winner today in GTE, and at the moment it's looking very much like a C8R as we've got a BMW in 4th, a Porsche in 5th, and then last race winner, also in the BMW, Jen McDonald in 6th place. Only one Ferrari in today's field, and that's Petrovsky in 9th. As we check in with Toby Seninger now in this 3-car battle that is forming up for 4th place in GTE. Connor Seidel, Mr. Consistency. He's had great consistent runs all season long and finds himself right up there in the points championship. Running top 4 today, and that will help. Seninger and McDonald right behind him. There you see the gap up to the leaders ahead, so it's really a 6-car fight here. Everybody on the same straightaway. As they head up into the S's. Nathan Jew having a little bit of trouble keeping pace up front, or is he just saving that car? There is Nathan now, who has won 3 of the 4 races run so far. 2 seconds adrift of the 32 of Andre Heinrich, and you can see little traffic. There's Andre actually in traffic right now. He's caught up to that battle for 4th in GTE. But we've seen him, and he's got the quick lap of the race at the moment, a 1:12.847 for Heinrich. As Schwarz is through Mannery. Andreas Schwarz has put the 204 up into 7th place and now leads that second battle in LMP. As Nathan Jew gets by Seidel, they're now past. Rommel and Hess have now dropped back to 7.5 seconds off the lead, but are now quite close together, actually, as we've got a second battle forming here. Boy, Hess really pushing that car. What do you see the lap times there? He was 2/10, well, 10th.5 quicker on that last lap, a 13.4 to a 13.6 as the 67 continues to move through the field. He'll be the mover of the day for sure. He's up 6 places as he started 10th and last in the field after spinning and qualifying. Making up for it now as you can see the leaders on the same straight up ahead. And Mannery now has dropped behind Seeley and Sockritter. And we've got a replay here. Oh, and he's hit. Big contact, and that's going to drop them back. And you can see Schwarz now down in 10th place. Meanwhile, the 44 is also behind the 72. We'll see what happens there. This is in the... He's just pushed off in the carousel, and there goes Seeley past. So a shake-up at the back in LMP. As now Paul Seeley up to 7th place from 10th. He's passed everybody in that group. Sockrider in 8th with Mannery and Schwarz now at the back of the field. So we check in now with Keith Rainey coming through that 4th place battle of GTE, and he's now been caught by Jaden Maneth and Guerin in the 777. As he makes his way through. Ooh, and a little lockup there from the 777 in behind, as he's going to have to wait for the front straightaway to get by Seninger. And he will do. Meanwhile, backed up front, Dawson Hess now still on the gearbox of Thomas Brommel in what is a battle for 3rd. Heinrich at 12.9 up front as he's not pulling away, actually. You see the lap time still in the 14s for Nathan Jew, but the gap has not changed, so Nathan may be getting through traffic a little more a little easier. As Hess wiggles again over that jump at Thunder Valley. Little flash to his teammate, and by goes Brommel. Ooh, they touched. Little bit of a slap there. Nothing major, but we check in with the 72 coming by that battle now. Playing the role of a turtle here today. Slow and steady. Drop to the back and now up to 7th place and moving his way through. 6 seconds behind Manathan Garin now in 6th. There is Jaden. Hayden Fowler looking to have a good run here today. He's been up front a lot this season. Of course, won at Silverstone to open up the season, but has not converted some of his, as we saw Chris Thompson there, off circuit. He recovers. Max Petrovsky in the pits. Find out what's going on there. We didn't see an incident. We know Max had never raced here before and was really working hard at coming to grips with this circuit. Let's see if he's had a problem. He's been stopped in the pits now for over a minute. I'm going to apologize right now. I think I'm flopping between Sock Rider and Sock Ritter, so I'll have a talk with David and we'll get that sorted for the next race. I've got to screw somebody up whenever they join the league. As Keith Rainey has now back in front of Dawson Hess. And we'll see what happens here as it's down approaching Thunder Valley and just a little wide at the bottom of the hill. And off goes the 67. So more work added to the plate. Dawson finds himself in 5th place, kind of equidistant there between Rainey and Manathan Garin. As most of the LMP field now through this battle for 4th. Kevin Hensel up over the jump at Thunder Valley. And it's about 6 seconds back to this battle. Seidel, Seninger, and McDonald as they come through the 66. Senager close enough to have a look here as we'll head down the back straightaway. Only about a half car defensive, but no move going on there. Seidel staying in front. As slippery as it is here, I'm not sure tire wear is going to be an issue for these guys. These 90-minute races, the caliber of driving in this series, these guys have been pretty consistent at being able to get through on one set. So it's really fuel strategy that'll come into it. The GTEs are always a one-stopper, but how far can you get? How short can you make your stop? And how easily do you get through traffic? Senager having a great run here. He's 8th in the championship. Hasn't run all the races, of course. He joined the league for race number 3. So a little behind on points, and that's something we're seeing here in Season 1, and something that was expected as people come in, and we've already got other plans, but we're hoping to really fix that in Season 2. We should have a much more consistent field once everybody's settled, and we'll have a closer championship top to bottom. As you can see how close the competition is. This is the battle on the track, although Dawson Hess is caught back up to the 6th of Keith Rainey. We'll just check back in on that briefly. We'll watch that gap closely, but this is the close race on the circuit for 4th place in GTE. Back up with our race leader, the 32 of Andre Heinrich, who's now got 2 seconds over Nathan Jew. There's Nathan in the background. The LMPs will be considering pit stops soon. It's generally in the 38-minute mark. This circuit very tight. There's a lot of off throttle and part throttle as you're going up and over these hills, so you're probably going to get a little better fuel mileage than we're used to as far as time is concerned. So we'll see when they start to peel off into pit road. Nathan actually quicker on that lap. A 13.2 as opposed to a 13.3 as Heinrich coming through traffic. Senager having a peak. McDonald getting closer as well. So whether Connor is doing some defending. Oh, a little bit of grass is not going to help the acceleration. Check back in. Hess seeming to have settled down a little bit. That gap now 7/10. And McDonald has caught this group. The race leader coming through. start his 24th lap. McDonald having to open up a little bit of a gap there. Seninger picked up a toe from his LMP teammate and is now right on the tail of the BMW. Pulls to the outside. He's got a great run down the back straight. Nathan Jew is coming through here as well. And he's going to take the inside lane and go 3 wide down into China Beach. Seninger's got his nose in. McDonald now right onto it. And Toby Seninger will take 4th place. A great pass through a difficult section of track. Now we'll see whether that was defending or whether there's a pace difference here between the Porsche and the BMW. McDonald is right up on the tail end of this. As they come through the keyhole, a quick peek back at the other battle on circuit. Dawson Hess right close again as he slides that thing wide. Maybe trying to have a look there, but oh, he does. Chris Costa. Rainey's got him as a pick if he can get the power down. But he's not going to get his car up beside him through the S's here. Dawson Hess doesn't look like he's afraid of too much, and he will take that position. Back to 4th place for the 67 as he drifts the car over Thunder Valley. And we head back to this battle for 4th place. On board with the 25. See how gentle they have to be on that throttle. As coming through is Thomas Brommel there, the 3rd place LMP car. Some great onboard action there from the BMWs. We're past the 1/3 distance mark, 56 minutes remaining in this 90-minute race. As Andreas Schwarz is in the pit, so the first of the LMPs now after 26 laps. And we know Andreas had a little damage probably with that incident with Nick Mannery. So maybe just bringing it in early The fuel flow rate fixed again in these cars. It was abnormally fast after the last build when we raced at Interlagos. No tires, stopped for 50 seconds, so I imagine there may have been a little bit of damage repair there on the 204. The fuel flow rate, much more realistic for this race, as Hess is in the pits. So he's in for his first stop. That will promote Nick Mannery up to 8th temporarily. And we check back in with this battle for 4th, which has now been caught by Rainey in the 6 car. Oh, and off goes Seninger. The 91 goes off at the carousel, and that's going to drop him back in behind all the way to 6th. The BMW's promoted with a gift. Meanwhile, the 44 has caught back up to the 72. This is a battle now for 6th place with the pit stops. Everybody in LMP should be heading to pit road soon. We believe it's a 2-stop race with a very short splash and go at the end. And with that off by the 91, that makes this now the closest battle on the race circuit. This is your race leader, Andre Heinrich, in the 32. Still turning quick laps, although Nathan was quicker the last time around. You can see a 13.409 was the fastest lap last time around, that by the 81 car. So blue flags for the 67. He's made a pit stop already. As they come by the 59 of Steve Groninga in his first race in the KRL. Heinrich a little bit of a toe, and into the keyhole. He'll take the inside lane and make that pass. The way Hess has been coming through the field, those cars will be pretty close speed-wise. Just going to check their fastest. It was a 13, an absolute 13 dead for Hess. 13.000 is his best lap of the race, and that's coming through traffic, so he certainly got some pace with that car out of position today. As Manathan Guerin comes through, he's just a second and a half ahead of the battle between Seeley and Sockrider. And 72 will get by both cars and not affect that battle at all. But David in the 44 has caught them at the worst possible time. Up through the S's, over the jump, and then down through Thunder Valley. And you can see Seeley with clear track through there just opening up what was the closest battle on the circuit. It's now a 3-second gap, and it's going to be more. He can't really go through here on the carousel. And David will now finally pick off McDonald on the main straight, and then after turn 1, he'll get the 25 of Seidel. But you can see the gap. They were right together. And now almost 4.5 seconds between the 72 and the 44 as Thompson's off, and he's hit. He's come out in front of Sockrider and been hit. Just pushed it off in the keyhole. And what happened here? The car's on the grass. You see him locked up. It just whether oh. So from bad to worse for the 44. He's now got Mannery right behind him. And we'll see if he needs to come in for damage repair. Again, the pit stops are happening at any time. We're getting very, very close to the halfway mark. They stay out. Thompson has gone to the pits. He's actually been towed to the pits. So some big damage on that Porsche. I was about to say that will be a Stewart's review, I'm sure. We have heard about the start in GTE, and it was a jump start. Jens Wolters is being charged with a jump start, but because of the special circumstances here at Mid-Ohio, a one-off start line, and he did actually slow up and let the field catch him. He's very lucky he did that, effectively nullifying the advantage he had. Because he didn't have to go into turn 1 with the rest of the cars, he's still been assessed a penalty, but it's a 10-second time penalty. So at the moment, that puts Hayden Fowler in the lead of this race. He's only 7.7 seconds behind. But Jens Wolters will have a 10-second time penalty added to his race time for jumping the start. And so we'll have to keep an eye on that as the race plays out. The penalty for a jump start in this series is a 30-second time penalty. However, they have taken into account the fact that it was a special start procedure that we've never done before, but more importantly that he once realized his mistake, he tried to make it right. So when you put those two factors together, they have still assessed a penalty, but it's only 10 seconds. Meanwhile, Jennifer McDonald here still on the tail of the 25 of Connor Seidel as race leader Andre Heinrich comes through. We're watching the clock very, very closely as there's 46 minutes left in this race. Are the LMPs going to do this race on one stop? We said it was going to be a two-stop with a short fill. Manathan Guerin is just in now, and so is Seeley in behind him. You've got to think that they're going to be a little short on fuel stopping now. Here comes Heinrich in, but he, of course, has done an extra lap. Heinrich is actually lapping these two cars in pit road. As the 72 is away 21.6 seconds, and he's going to pass Manathan Guerin in the pits. There is Hess again in the pits. And Jaden is taking tires. Trying to get any grip he can. Nathan Jew currently in the lead. Thomas Brommel is in second. Heinrich will drop to third. Still stopped. There goes Heinrich now. Very long stop. Jaden Manathan Guerin is going to be a lap down as he exits the pits. 34 seconds stopped for Heinrich. So compare that to a 21.6 for Seeley. 34.9 for Schwarz. That's telling me Seeley did a short fill. Because that looks like a full fill for the 32 and the 204. As McDonald breaks off that battle for fourth and comes in for the first stop in GTE. So she's splitting the race exactly in half. The first of the GTEs to come in without problems. As the order all mashed up at the moment. Keith Rainey finds himself up in third place. McDonald still stopped. She makes her way out now with an 18.4 second pit stop. So that's clearly fuel only. Rainey and Brommel also in the pits, which is going to push Heinrich up back into his, well, I was going to say rightful position, but Nathan Chu and Nick Mannery and David Stockrider, the only cars not to pit yet. Dawson Hess has gone through with a drive-through penalty. That was his second stop. And now Dawson Hess is back in the pits. And he is going to be retiring from this race in the 67, we are hearing. So back to the strategy. Nathan Jew out front now, 43 minutes to go in this race, which means if he comes back in now, he will be able to make it on one stop, it looks like. And his teammate, Nick Mannery, up in third, also has not stopped. So what have the Red Kite boys got up their sleeves here today? That last time around, so there's no fuel saving on that lap. With Heinrich out of the way, he's putting him in. And the 81 will make it to pit road now with 42 and a half minutes left in this 90-minute race. Stockrider is in front of him. And that is McDonald and Heinrich coming together. What on earth is going on there? He just loses it. He loses it down at the end of turn 4. McDonald nowhere to go. Oh, and how... You'd have to think... How is that going to affect this battle at the front? Nathan in the pits in the 81 now, and he is going to have the lead because of that problem for the 32. You see him there in the background. McDonald, we just caught, has passed Seidel on track as it's all happening. Seidel has pit. McDonald, despite that little dust-up with Andre Heinrich, has made it past the 25. So that's the big story of GTE, as we've got another car off. Seninger in the carousel again. And he's going to head straight into the pits for his pit stop. Fowler, Hensel also in. And we'll see where they play out. As a gaggle of cars comes through the carousel. Connor Seidel now chasing the Brazil winner in GTE. McDonald up to 4th. Here's Mannery now. After his pit stop is back down to 7th place. Finds himself behind Andreas Schwarz in 6th. Here they are. As everything starts to cycle through here, the camera jumping around trying to find everybody. Sockrider comes out in 8th place, comfortably ahead of Manathan Guerin, who, remember, took tires on that stop. Big damage on that left front corner on the 99, so we'll see how that affects her in the battle with Connor Seidel. As Nathan Jew now goes long on his pit stop, and with a little incident there with the 32 of Heinrich, self-induced, put himself off and then collected this car right here. He now finds himself 3 seconds behind the American, looking to grab his 4th win in 5 races. There is Jens Wolters now in the lead. Everybody has pitted. Hayden Fowler 3 seconds behind, which effectively puts him 7 seconds in the lead in GTE. The 24 car carrying a 10-second time penalty for jumping the start. That also puts Kevin Hensel up to 2nd. He's only 8.7 behind, so at the moment it's a Night Racing Esports 1-2. A flash from Schwarz, who is under all kinds of pressure from the 37 of Nick Mannery. And we think both Red Kite cars can go the distance. Both pitting after the halfway point, so fantastic fuel mileage for these guys. And to be fair, I didn't think there'd be a one-stop strategy in it for LMP. It was close, but it didn't look like it. They have both pulled it off. These two, of course, have history already in this race, as Mannery on lap 12 had a little bit of an issue with the 204. Finds himself behind him again, and Sockrider right there as well. This has turned into a 3-car battle here, now that the pit stops are complete. And what a quick half hour, as we're now approaching 30 minutes to go. A lot happening in the last 20 minutes. Around through the keyhole. Oh, Sockrider is off in the background. And that's going to drop him back. We've seen this before from the 44. Just pushing off a couple of times. So first race issues for the 44. And that's going to drop him back off the tail end of that battle for 6th. You can see now it's 11 seconds up to Nick in the 37 car. Seven seconds ahead of Manathan Guerin. As we hop back up, this is Keith Rainey now. Running a solid 4th, that's where he qualified. And he's really coming to grips with this Dallara P217 and putting in some great races here. Threatening to take that #1 seat out at night racing here. As the team leader 2 positions back in 5th. Seeley has not had the lap times here at this circuit. He's been consistent, but not fast. So it's moved him up from 8th to 5th from his qualifying spot. We'll see where he can bring it home as the pit stop's all done, and it's a pretty sizable lead for Seeley over Shores. But we believe all of these cars, other than the Red Kites, are going to have to pit again, so that's going to throw a wrench into the order there. Certainly no ill effects, it seems, to the 99 car from that incident earlier on. A 123 the last time around. Seidel a tenth quicker, but certainly that doesn't mean he's quicker. That could be traffic. We've got LMPs going through. The 99 looks, although it bent up on the left front, does not seem to be suffering as far as speed. As the race leader, Volters, coming up to put a lap on Steve Groninga in the 59. Welcome to Steve and his first event here at the KRL. You can see that gap for Volters has increased to 5.3 seconds. He's got 33 minutes to double it if he wants to actually win this race. As the Red Kite boys find themselves together now, Nathan Jew coming around to lap the 7th place car in LMP. I don't imagine his teammate will make it too hard for him. The lead that Heinrich had basically has been swapped with that incident. He's now 4 seconds behind the 81. But more importantly, if he's got to stop again, Nathan has got this all to himself. Nathan coming down pit road with 42.5 minutes remaining in the race. Rainey 9 seconds behind Brommel. Thomas does seem to find spots to go and hide in these races. He's running a very lonely 3rd place. I seem to recall him doing that earlier in other races. There he is. We're very excited. We have it on good authority. As you know, all the fixed drivers who joined last week at Interlagos, the 4 of them, they're away racing in the 12 hours for Anna today. But they say they will be back. Everybody looking forward to Sebring as well as the Switch-It cars. I hate to put a number out there and then be proven wrong, but I think we could be expecting upwards of 36 cars at Sebring, which will be outstanding. First time we'll have the entire field assembled since we pushed up over 30. We were close in the second race, but of course we only had 22 members back then. There are now 40 drivers signed up in this series as of yesterday. And from what we can tell, we're going to have most of them at Sebring, and hopefully for the remaining 3 races next year. A lot of these guys getting ready for the 24 Hours of Daytona, which was announced being taken place on the 22nd of January, I believe. Don't have it right in front of me, but that was released by iRacing. And we will be racing Daytona the weekend before the 24-hour race. So it'll be a great practice for these guys to get all set up and get things tuned. The Daytona race, of course, a night race here in the KRL. It'll be the only one. We've had morning races and a twilight race, but that'll be the only one. I believe sim time starts at 9 p.m. for the practice, which is 40 minutes for a 2-hour race. Then the qualifying, and so the race start time will be about 10 p.m. Sim time, so it'll be a night race at Daytona. Thomas Brommel getting by Steve Groniga there. 3rd place, and it's about 38 seconds up to his teammate in 2nd, the pole sitter. Brady is making a little bit of ground on him, so we'll watch that. I think we mentioned 9 seconds earlier, and that's now down to 6.5. As traffic ebbs and flows, we'll watch that gap and see if Rainey can make any ground on the 3rd place car. Mannery comes through. He has let his teammate, the race leader in LMP, through. As Brommel comes by his Switch-It teammate, the on-track race leader of Jens Wolters. And that gap has come down by Fowler, down to 4 seconds. Currently, it's starting to look a little touch and go maybe for the race win there. Hate it when you have penalties to deal with in live, but we'll see if he can open that gap up. Could Hayden Fowler be the first repeat race winner in the Night Racing League in the GTE class this year, as he comes through past the 59? Great job these guys did on this car. They were working on it the last 2 weeks. And I think it's pretty close to being done. I'm not sure. They're still sending pictures every now and again, but getting all set for Daytona. And I know they've signed another driver as well, so that's very exciting. We'll see if we see him in the KRL leading up to Daytona. Andre Heinrich now has made it up to Nick Mannery, keeping that gap steady at 3.5 seconds. But he's got to worry more about the pit stop. His pit road time, including his stop, was 52.1. Now, of course, he's not going to be doing a full fuel, but we're going to be adding that to his 4-second deficit if he has to come through. I mean, it's not for sure. Everybody's very close to that halfway mark. We'll see who has to pit and who doesn't. Andre Schwarz in 6th place. 5 seconds now ahead of the 37 of Mannery. That's Nathan Jew behind him. That's not Mannery. As they're coming through, you can see that gap has opened up between the 99 and the 25. McDonald pulling away a little bit now from Seidel and solidifying that 4th place. It could be a big day for Jennifer. The race win, of course, at Brazil put her in second place in the championship standings. .46 points back. Alexander Schleicher not here. So maximizing points here will be very important to tighten up this championship. And Alexander, out of the gate, had a great start with 3 straight podiums. Well, let's clear that up. He's had 4 straight podiums, hasn't he? 4 races. His worst finish was a 3rd. And he has a race win, so this is the first race he hasn't been on track. And it's going to tighten up the championship, as Jennifer missed the first race, so they'll be even on 4 races apiece. Jennifer, of course, joined us in Le Mans for the 2nd race of the season. And while she doesn't have the podium, she certainly has the good finish record. She also has a race win and all top 5s since she joined the league in that BMW. So we should have a pretty tight championship at the end of this race as we head to Sebring in 2 weeks' time. Still behind the 37 is Andre Heinrich. Not really close enough to make a move either. I mean, I'm certainly not seeing anything there. The gap now 4.3 seconds, so it's opened up by 1. There's the race leader now, just coming up on the 204 of Andre Schwarz. As they go by Hensel there. And quickest that time around was Nathan Jew, a 14:252 on the timing screens. He certainly got the pace, but it looks like they've won this one with strategy today. 23 minutes to go as he comes around to complete lap number 53. Heinrich quicker behind, as you saw him trying to get by the Corvette there at the end of the lap. So Heinrich will pull back that second that he lost. There is the gap visually, 2 Corvettes between first and second, and more importantly, he is past the 37 of Nick Mannery. We'll get a nice toe down here. I don't think he's close enough. Yeah, maybe he is. Get by the 59. As we head down through turn 4. He'll pull it out last second. Steve keeping it very wide for him. Blue flags for all these cars. And that is the 81 car of Nathan Jew, our race leader. As we'll do a bit of a field rundown here with about 20 minutes to go. He has a 4-second lead over the pole sitter, the number 32 of Andre Heinrich. Heinrich led this race up until just before the first pit stop, when he had a little bit of a self-induced spin and collected the 99 of Jennifer McDonald. Just coming out of turn 4 down at China Beach. He has a very large lead, 40 seconds, however, over his front row teammate, Thomas Brommel, who runs in 3rd. He leads by 7 seconds over Keith Rainey in the number 6, who is 7 seconds ahead of his teammate, Paul Seeley, in the 72. In 6th is Andreas Schwarz in the 204. As they're coming through. A little bit of a mobile chicane down through there as they come through Thunder Valley. 6-second lead over the 37 of Nick Mannery, who was also on that one-stop strategy with his Red Kite teammate. However, a couple of offs and contact with the 204 has put him back in 7th. 8th place is the 44 of first-time KRL participant David Sockrider. David's had a good, consistent race, but a couple of push-offs down at Keyhole have maybe got him a little out of position from where he could be on pace. 9th place is the 777 of Jaden Manathan Guerin, who is only 4 seconds back of David. The only car in LMP to have taken tires on his pit stop. The only other LMP car, the 67 of Dawson Hess, has retired from the race. In GTE, the race leader is the 24 pole sitter of Jens Wolters, although it's not as easy as that. Jens leads by 6.75 seconds, but has a 10-second time penalty added to his race for a jumped start. He did make it good and pulled his car back waiting for the field, although he had no advantage time-wise. He had no... As we have a car off, that is Andreas Schwarz. So the 204 off again. That's down at turn 1. And while it doesn't cost him a position, it makes the gap to 7th place only 3 seconds. Seeley has pitted, so he has now dropped to 8th place. He's the first we know he's short pitted there in the 72, so he's now made his second stop and can go to the end. So a little bit of a dust up there. Second place in GTE as we'll try to get this rundown down. 18 minutes left in the race. Hayden Fowler is in second place. It's 8 seconds the gap now. He needs to get stay within 10 seconds to claim the race victory. Next in line is teammate Kevin Hensel in the 94. He has dropped out of that 10-second gap and now currently sits in 3rd. Schwarz back in the pits in LMP, so that'll be his second stop, and it promotes Sockrider and Seeley to 6th, 7th, and Guerin to 8th. Behind Hensel is the 99 of Jennifer McDonald, who is pulling away from the 25 of Connor Seidel, despite that damage on the left front when she was in a little bit of a wrong place at the wrong time when Andre Heinrich lost it in turn 4. There is the gap to Connor Seidel in behind. Toby Seninger was right in the three-way battle with these guys, but went off at the carousel and now finds himself 16 seconds behind the 25. In 7th place is the 76 of Chris Costa in the Corvette C8R. He leads newcomer Steve Groninga by 35 seconds. The 66 of Chris Thompson runs his Porsche, and you can see it's a little bent up after he had an off in the keyhole and then had trouble getting it back on track. It slid sideways and was collected by the 44 of David Sockrider. And he is going to have a trip to the stewards after this race for that as well. We did have a 10th entry in GTE, Max Petrovsky, who has retired from this race rather early, and I think he was having trouble coming to grips with this circuit. And after a couple of early incidents, pulled the car off and has not finished. That's your race rundown as we watch the 3rd place car of Thomas Brommel now just 6/10 ahead of Keith Rainey, who's going to have to wait to come through turn 1. So we've got another replay of Toby Seninger as we were talking about him there. Ooh, a little bit of a push off there. As he lets his teammate go, and that was a wild ride. Probably cost him at least half a second. We've got all kinds of replays that happened during that field rundown. Oh, that's stock radar going off. Okay, so that makes sense there. And we saw the tail end of that. Is there he is now, just off again. And that's going to give Manathan Guerin seventh place. And he's got Schwarz all over the back of him now. Sorry, we cut back thinking that was a replay. It was actually live happening there with the 44 car. Oh, it's Schwarz. Completely messes up the exit of the S's there, but catches it in time. Under 14 minutes remain here in the 90 minutes at Mid-Ohio. Andre is looking like he's got something for the 44. The 44 has been having trouble with front-end lockup. It's cost him a couple of times now. And we'll see if Andreas can salvage one more position out of this race. The gap in GTE has crossed over 10 seconds. So Jens Wolters now has the official lead of the race by 1/4 of a second over Hayden Fowler. The gap has been creeping up and creeping up. As there is Hayden. It's right on the line. You can see it going back and forth. 10.05 at the moment. As Hayden's off at the carousel. And that's going to let his teammate through, Kevin Hensel, up to second place. And that should take any doubt away from the race lead. As Wolters now with a 15-second gap over Kevin Hensel, who takes second place away from his teammate, who goes off track at the carousel with 12 minutes to go in the race. Back to the battle for 8th in LMP there momentarily. Very momentarily, as Brommel's coming through here. Brommel and Rainey very close together. Remember that gap was 9 seconds when we first mentioned it. Coming down. It is now less than 2 seconds. So Brommel, who had third all to himself for most of this race, is looking like he's going to have to defend it as the American continues to close that gap. Schwarz unable to get close enough to make a move. He's got the 44 right where he wants it. Meanwhile, this battle for third in LMP is coming through the inverted battle for second in GTE. And now 15.3 seconds, so we can now stop worrying about the penalty as Schwarz again teeters on the edge of front end grip there coming up through the S's. And we've got 10 minutes left in this race. This is going to be a real battle here. Rainey all on the back of Thomas Brommel. I'm not sure why we need to see Nick going by as Schwarz is back into the pits. Definitely unscheduled there. Is this a drive-through maybe? No, he's actually going to pit road. And that's going to cement him back in 9th place. Brommel, a very good lap there. Well, actually, if you look at the timing screen, it was slower than Rainey's. However, he has pulled away. Sockrider now track all to himself, 3 seconds behind Maneth and Guerin. Pulled himself a little bit of a gap, has Brommel. A Sockrider is now dropped. Still on track. How is he dropped to 9th place behind Schwarz? Coming through the final 10 minutes here at Mid-Ohio. Your LMP2 race leader there is Nathan Jew in the 81. A 5-second lead over Andre Heinrich, who we believe has to pit again. And Sockrider in the pits now. We'll see what happens here. Oh, sorry, that's Rainey off. And Sockrider has retired from the race, we're hearing, so we've got a bogus replay label there, but the 44 now out, as you can see by the grayed out name on the timing screen. Schwarz back on track. That's going to put him up into 8th place despite the issues he's had today. But here is the battle on the track, which has really opened up now. Rainey really dropping back off of the 4 car. And you can see it's a 3.5 second gap now. And the 59, just a little bit of an off there. Catches it, keeps it on circuit. Everybody now trying to get these tires to the end. 5 minutes left. As you see Connor Seidel now, he's dropped 5 seconds back of McDonald in that BMW, so she has really taken that 4th place. Heinrich 5.9 seconds. He has a pit stop in hand. So even if he does have to stop, it's not going to cost him a position on track. We'll see if Brommel, Rainey have to stop. We know Mannery doesn't, and Seeley in 6th already has. Schwartz already has. Manathan Guerin also has only taken his 1 pit stop. And the gap really opening up out front now. As a 14.2 was the fastest lap on circuit last time around. .32.6 seconds back. We'll keep waiting for him to just duck into the pits. See if he can make it. See some green on the right there. That's just Sockrider dropping down through as the GTEs pass his 62 lap total. No passes actually happening on circuit. As Manathan Guerin is in for his 2nd stop. So he is going to make a pit, and we'll see if any of the other LMPs have to do a splash and go here at the end. As Rainey starts to pull back in. He's back within 2 seconds here of Brommel. 3 minutes to go. Our leaders together on circuit as Nathan June will go by the 24 of Jens Wolters. And we think 3 laps left. With 3 minutes to go, we're turning 1:14s. Definitely pulling back in. Rainey on Brommel. It looks like he's going to make a move. It's just timing this to the end, I think. Now less than a second. He visually closes under the brakes. As they've got the 91 of Toby Seninger in front of them. Not the best part of the racetrack to catch a GTE car. That's going to let Rainey close right up. He takes the move to the inside as they head up toward the carousel. Both cars through. Oh, and Rainey goes through in the carousel. He's by. And that's 3rd place. On board with Brommel now as he sees the back end of the 6 car for the first time. a little bit wide in the carousel. We've seen that from lots of drivers. And Keith Rainey up to third. He's got the toe coming down. Bit of a curb. Meanwhile, the 81 has taken the white flag. He's on the last lap. Keith Rainey just has to get it around one more time as they come up to the carousel. This is where he made the pass for third place. Brommel a little wide again. One more time around. As here they come up through the back markers. Steve Groningen there. Brommel has a look on the inside. Rainey covers. He pushes off. Rainey off at the keyhole, and back to third place goes Thomas Brommel. What a finish. As coming around, Jens Wolters will win in GTE. Nathan Jew, your winner in LMP2. Andreas Heinrich second, and it's going to be Thomas Brommel will come home in third place. And oh, what could have been for Keith Rainey as he finally got that third place away from Brommel, and then it all comes back at the keyhole. So there are your results in LMP. Nathan Jew, with the strategy and the speed, takes the race win ahead of Andre Heinrich. Thomas Brommel, Keith Rainey ends up in fourth place. Nick Mannery fifth, Paul Seeley in sixth, with Jaden Manathan-Garin and Andreas Schwartz coming home in eighth. Sockrider and Hess not classified as the other starters. In GTE, the penalty ended up not coming into it. Jens Wolters will win ahead of Kevin Hensel, who gained second place over Hayden Fowler when he pushed off at the carousel. Jennifer McDonald fourth ahead of Connor Seidel in what was a great battle between the BMWs all day long. Toby Senacher sixth with Chris Costa, Steve Groningen rounding out the runners with Chris Thompson. Maximilian Petrovsky not classified in the GTE class. And it never gets boring. Let's go hear from our race winner. And after a race everybody was terrified to run because it was so tight and so slippery, Nathan Jew comes home with another win and with one pit stop to boot. Tell us about your day, Nathan.
Yeah, it was a good day. Absolutely everything went according to plan.
I would think so. Everything went according to plan.
Yeah, well, you know, I knew that I didn't feel too great at qualifying, but a week ago when the race was announced, I crunched some numbers and figured that I didn't have to save too much fuel to make it a one stop. And I just figured, I don't have to qualify pole, I don't have to run away at the start, I just have to save enough fuel, and that's what I did. I got a bit lucky at the start to get into P2, and then I saw Andre pushing hard, and when I saw him putting in some really fast laps, I pretty much knew that I had it, because yeah, after the pits, I was I think I went 3 laps longer than him, and I came out 4 seconds ahead. And after that, just kind of managed the gap, watched my fuel, and brought it home.
Well, I mean, that's an incredible strategy pull-off for you because yeah, hearing the 112s on the lap charts going by, just I couldn't believe somebody did this race on one stop.
Yeah, I mean, well, the entire week leading up to it, almost all of my practice laps, I was lifting and coasting. Because in practice, I was able to get down to a 112.5 while lifting and coasting, and I figured, why go any faster? So, yeah, I decided this is save fuel the whole time and worked perfectly. I think it helped with tires quite a bit as well, because I noticed at the very end of the race, I had a lot more pace than Andre. Could have been because he had to save more fuel. Not sure, though.
Yeah, and that was the other surprise. The tire wear didn't even seem to be an issue, even with these hot temperatures. You continue to amaze, my friend, and congratulations. Congratulations on the win. I mean, even if everybody was showing up for every race, you'd be walking away with this championship, so good on you.
Thank you, Marcel. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Yep, cheers.
Nathan Jew, your LMP winner, now with a staggering 93-point lead in the class. And so let's take a look at the points. It's a 93-point lead, as we said, for Nathan Jew ahead of Thomas Brommel, who moves up to second with his effort here today. Andre Heinrich, just 7 points back. That's where the battle is for second place. Paul Seeley just 9 back of Heinrich with his consistency in every race. Then we've got Rotter and Schwarz. Keith Rainey up to 7th place, 127 back. But you can see back from second, it's a very tight battle as we head to the 3 2-hour races to finish off the season. GTE is tight now. Schleicher keeps his lead, but Jennifer McDonald only 26 points back. 5 ahead of Connor Seidel, only 4 ahead of Hayden Fowler. 5 points then back to Hensel. Jens Wolters moves himself up to 6th place now with the race win. And it's anybody's guess what's going to happen in GTE as we head to our final 3 races. Our next race, as we said, we're going to be at Sebring for 2 hours. All the races 2 hours as we finish off this season. We hope you all have a great holiday season, however you celebrate it. And we'll see you all back on the 2nd of January for a 2-hour classic. We're expecting a huge field at Sebring. So from all of us here at the Night Racing League, have yourself a great holiday, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.